You're listening to the Flair Hair Bunch, and this time we're talking Royal Rumble retrospectives. One generation will remember where they were when JFK was shot, and another will remember their whereabouts during the World Trade Center attacks on September 11th, 2001. Others will recall the moment Ric Flair won the 1992 Royal Rumble and the vacant WWF World title. Now, I'm not saying the latter is on a par with the two former events, because that would be kind of strange, I admit. But watching it for the first time at the age of 6, like I did, is liable to make it the most important and biggest miscarriage of justice in history. Watching Flair, oh yeah indeed, Ric Flair, the nature boy himself, the styling and profiling, limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeler dealing son of a gun, go on to beg, borrow and steal his way to victory at the Royal Rumble was gripping stuff from the get-go. The contrast between the love, albeit expressed as hate, for Flair and the cheers for his contemporaries was in stark contrast to the almost comical levels of disdain shown toward the kayfabe President Jack Tunney. The boos he received just by walking to the ring to remind fans of the whole vacant world title thing indicated a lower approval rating than Trump. The poor guy could do nothing right. With Flair entering the match in third after British Bulldog and the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, he saw off the likes of The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage to prove his own adage true. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. If wrestling teaches you anything at a formative age, it's that away from the shiny perseverance of the good guys and doing what's right, the bad ones are quite adept at winning too. But Flair wasn't some wild card pick, having been involved in the world title picture in the months leading up to the Rumble match. His interference in Hogan's loss to The Undertaker at Survivor Series 1991, which led to the immortal Yellow One being tombstoned onto a chair, was the catalyst for a sequence of events that saw the title finally being vacated. It's perhaps a sign of how political things were backstage for such a contrived method of Flair getting the gold to be put into action. Either way, it was testament to Flair's talent and charisma that he maintained his cool and kept the crowd hot enough to last as long as he did in the Rumble, and make no mistake, the crowd was all over him from the start. His road to victory was dotted by scraps like barroom brawls with Roddy Piper, Jake Roberts, and, given he ultimately went the distance, just about anyone else in his orbit. Flair's ultimate victory came about via some shenanigans, inevitable given that Hogan was always skulking about. Having eliminated Hogan, the ever-lumbering Sid Justice was grabbed by the wrist from the outside by one of Hulk's burly 24-inch pythons, brother, allowing Flair the chance to sneak up behind and tip the weirdest big man to perhaps ever grace the sport up and over to the mats outside. Cue uproar, as you'd imagine, and as Flair celebrated with his belt, Bobby Heenan almost crying with joy at the announce table, Hogan and Sid quarrelled outside. I mentioned politics just before, and boy, did this event just stink of it. Hogan, never one to take a loss lying down, quite literally, went on to make himself the star of the show at the following WrestleMania 8 in his match with Sid in the main event, the feud taking centre stage ahead of Flair and Savage's bout at the same event. In fact, the world title match was shunted so far down that card that it appeared not just before Tatanka vs Rick Martel, it also appeared before Owen Hart vs Skinner. Still, we'll always have the Rumble, won't we, hey? The 1992 Rumble was a benchmark in that it gave the 30-man match a sense of prestige for the first time. Since its inception in 1988, the winner had received a grand sum of nothing for their efforts. But after Flair's victory, and from 93 onward, the winner of the match was granted a title shot at WrestleMania, and the concept has gone on to become a linchpin of not just the WWE calendar, but an intrinsic part of the fabric of wrestling as a whole. That's all for Flair Hair Bunch this time. Be sure to like, share and subscribe for more wittering on wrestling. But be sure to come back tomorrow for the next Royal Rumble retrospective, this time at Madison Square Garden, for the small matter of that street fight between Triple H and Cactus Jack.